Hey everybody, welcome to PC Perspective. I'm Ryan Shrout. Today we just got in our first Steam hardware. We got in the Steam Link and the Steam controller. I thought we'd do a quick unboxing of it, hook it up to a couple of gaming systems, test out the controller, test out the Link software and hardware implementation, and give you some of our first impressions of what it is. They started shipping these to people who pre-ordered early. A lot of people are getting them in today. Wide availability on November 11th for that. So let's go ahead and take a look at what we got here. First, I'm going to open up the Steam Link. Now, this is a device that basically connects to your network and then will automatically find other machines on your network, PCs, that have Steam installed. And then you'll be able to stream any of those games through your local network to play on whatever this is hooked up to. Obviously, the most common use will be to hook it up to your TV in your living room and then use this controller or another controller for that purpose. It does support the Steam controller automatically. It has Xbox 360, Xbox One controller support, as well as a couple of other ones. Logitech, I think, was mentioned as well. So you can see here, like in terms of, it's just your kind of normal boxing here. Nothing special about it, or even labeling wise. It has this. They plan on selling it at retail. They've got areas for that. So we'll go ahead and take this off. And if we open it up, not much to it, guys. We're pretty much right to the unit itself. It's relatively small and thin, pretty light, but it doesn't feel cheap, which is nice. It has one, let's see if I can get that area, three USB 2.0 ports. You've got your power input there. You have an Ethernet port that's actually, it's 100 megabits, not a gigabit, which is fine because of what you're actually doing with it. You're not downloading media or anything to it, you're streaming games. And then your HDMI port does only support up to 1080p60, it's not HDMI 2.0. You got a nice kind of rubber texture here on the bottom to keep it from moving. But other than that, that is what you have. It does have Bluetooth support. It has 802.11 AC, 2x2 MIMO support as well, so it will work with wireless connectivity options, but they do still recommend using the Ethernet port on that. So if we take out the rest of it here, you've got your quick start guide. Pretty simple, giving you directions for wired or wireless connectivity. Works as you would expect. Useful in there. When we get into this box portion, we have the rest of it. So you've got all of your power connectivity options for global usage, right? But the US standard is already kind of pre-installed on this. You've got your power cable there. Looks like a pretty lengthy power cable, which is nice. You have a flat Ethernet cord, which is cool. So you can use this to connect it up. Obviously the preferred method, as we talked about before. And then you've got a HDMI cable in here as well. So that's pretty much, I mean, they supply you with everything you need to get up and running out of the box with the Steam Link. So we'll hook this up in our network here in a little bit and see what our first impressions are of that. But you can see itself, I mean, the device it's pretty small. It's basically decoding video on the fly and then sending back controller inputs. There's not a whole lot of compute capability necessary for a device like this. Next up, I think this is one I'm more interested in. This is the Steam controller. This will work with the Steam Link, but it will also work with just your PC in general. It's something that has been I feel like it's been like 2 years since this has been in development, I think. And it's transitioned quite a bit from what it was initially going to be to what it is today. But it is finally shipping and available. They promise that this will kind of bridge the gap between using an Xbox 360 controller for PC games versus using a controller on games that kind of require more of precision of a mouse and keyboard that you don't get with a controller. So you can see the box here again. We just kind of got our sliding sleeve that kind of gives you some detail there. Again, the box, very simplistic. You open it right to the device. Nothing special. We'll walk through that here in a second. You get a pair of Duracell batteries in here. No cheap batteries. High quality Duracell right out of the box. They want that to last as long as possible. And then you get your USB dongle here that will connect it to your PC or laptop, whatever you happen to be attaching it to. What else do you get here? Your quick start guide, how to install the batteries, how to plug in a USB device, and then apparently you hit the Steam button. So there you go. And then also in here you get basically, you get a USB cable, micro to full-size USB cable, along with a little pedestal that you can, if your PC's far away and you think maybe interference is an issue, run this cable from behind your PC to the top of your PC, plug in your Steam controller adapter there, boom, and you're ready to go. Let's take a closer look here at the actual controller itself. It has evolved quite a bit over the last years and months. You still have a couple of touch pads, essentially. These will act as touch pads. They're very clicky. If you hear the sound that it offers there. They did add in one kind of standard analog stick. You've got X, Y, and A, B buttons here. They feel okay. I'll be honest, like first impression is that it doesn't feel as weighty or as kind of high quality built as an Xbox One controller or even Xbox 360 controller. I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean anything about how it's going to perform, but there is that. You've got your forward and back button, I guess, start, pause. You've got your Steam button in the middle that will take you back to the Steam home, I'm guessing, when you're in big picture mode, for example. But you've got these two track pads. This one kind of has a cross pattern on it. It will emulate a D-pad, if you will, and I'm very curious to see how that works, say, in like fighting games, for example, that really require a D-pad for good use. Initial kind of holding it feel, it's a little bit, if it's you can kind of see here, it's concave here, right? So it kind of goes down, which is interesting in terms of, I don't know, how your hand placement. It's very different than an Xbox or a PS4 controller immediately, but it doesn't feel uncomfortable necessarily. But we'll have to hook it up and play it with some games and see. Around back, you've got more trigger buttons back here than I expected there to be. You've got these two on the top that are very quick to actuate, and again, very loud and clicky. You have these below it, which have 10 degrees of throw, I think is what the specification said, and then there's a click at the bottom. So this is, it's a little bit of analog trigger support there with kind of an actuation to finish it. And then this was kind of a new addition here is you've got these paddles on the side that go back and forth. So if you're holding the controller, you kind of hit those with your bottom two fingers while still having these two to attach to that. I will say, let's see, battery access is through the bottom here. Pull this switch to the side. Let's see if I can, there. Pull that switch to the side. It kind of pops up, and you can install your batteries, one in each side. It's kind of interesting. There's some contacts right there that I don't really know what they're for yet, but maybe for some kind of additional accessory to add onto the Steam controller at a later time. I don't really know. So you install the batteries there, and then you're good to go. It feels interesting. I don't want to say it feels good or bad yet, but it feels different. I will say it's louder than I expected it to be. If you kind of, like I'm kind of clicking all the buttons in random here, there's a lot of noise to be made. So I'll be curious to see how that kind of impacts gaming experiences. I guess if you're playing with headphones, it's not an issue at all. If you're playing with speakers or in front of your TV surround sound system, it probably shouldn't be an issue. So yeah, let's hook this up to PC. We've got our MSI GT72S with a GTX 980 in it, so more than enough gaming horsepower to give everything a try. We'll hook this up, see how some gaming works, and then we'll see how some streaming works as well. All right, here we are inside BioShock Infinite. It's an old game, but it still plays well, and this is one that we use for benchmarking, so I have a really good handle on how it used to feel and how it should feel, and all that kind of stuff. So you see I've got using the Steam controller, no issues. And so what I first noticed is you're still using the thumbstick here for your, creeping forward, running forward, side strafes, all that, forward and back. But then for your motion, your rotation, your aiming, you're using the right trackpad. And it has a very subtle haptic feeling underneath it. It's hard to describe. It's like tiny little pen taps along the bottom of your finger. They don't hurt, obviously, but you can just feel them enough to know that something's going on. And what you'll notice is that you have momentum, right? So as I swipe my finger across, it still slides a little bit. And obviously, you can adjust that in the settings with the mouse sensitivity. But that's what kind of gives the controller its advantages over standard trackpads with just two thumbsticks. right? Now I will say that I kind of noticed right away that because of the size of the trackpad, it's a good size, which is nice. The buttons here feel a little bit further away. They also feel a little bit smaller than they should be. So we'll see if I can play through some of this with it. And then obviously you've got to figure out what the mappings are here for all the new buttons. Goodbye, sir. Pick up our weapons. Here we go. Let's off some fools. So I definitely feel like I have... Oop, wrong button. Definitely feel like I have a little bit more control over... Oop, the... There it is. Over the aiming of it. Now, obviously, I'm still getting used to the controller mappings here. There we go, the button mapping. But in terms of aiming, I actually feel like this works a little bit better than like the Xbox controller does. But there's definitely a learning curve here, though. I will say that. You have to get used to it before, you know, going here and immediately just getting shot up. I think I had this on easy, so that should help. Whereas I'm used to just kind of strafing to aim, I do feel like the touchpad interconnect here helps kind of give you a little bit more control over things. And switch our guns here. I'm not going to make it past this. So this, I mean, it's, again, like I said, it's a first attempt. You definitely get the advantages of kind of like the momentum swing here, so. Yeah, I need some more ammo here. Off a fool! The buttons still have what I would consider to be more noise than I would like in terms of just the amount of clicking sounds that they have. But still pretty good overall. That's BioShock Infinite. Let's jump into another game that maybe has a different control scheme than a first-person shooter and see what the first impressions are there. Okay, what better game to really jump back into things here and figure out than Rocket League. Now this is obviously a very different control scheme than you have with the first-person shooter. I really don't even know where the button mappings are going to be. Keep in mind, this is supposed to be a D-pad, so I think it'll end up using this for some of the steering. Oh, there we go. I don't even know if, like you can see, I'm using the trackpad here to kind of scroll around my sweet van, if you will, with its wizard hat and tennis ball. And then I think we'll probably use triggers for actual getting in there, but I'm just curious to see kind of like how this controller works with a very different and kind of unique gaming style. Also note that I do believe that Rocket League and Portal 2 are actually bundled games with the controller. Maybe it's the Link, or maybe it's the bundle of both. But you definitely get this as part of the bundle. So you would think it should have pretty good out-of-the-box control with it. So let's see how this works and how aggravated my teammates get as I don't know how to play initially. Let's see. That looks like acceleration to me. There's how we bring up that. All right, let's do this. Come on, Samson. All right, so we've got, oh, okay. So analog stick controls camera, and now we actually get to use the D-pad for, oh no. All right, so now we get our first look at the D-pad use. And so far it's okay. Uh-oh, What's going on here? It's a much larger surface than I'm used to with a normal D-pad. Look at that. All right, where's my turbo? There it is. No, too far. All right, so this does work. I will admit, I have not played Rocket League with a controller before. I've always been a mouse keyboard user. But it does play. So you can see here as I use the D-pad to drive around, like, it's pretty much just hitting, oh, that's embarrassing. That's going to be on video. It's still just kind of using the 4 directions. It's not using anything in between. So I do feel like maybe the surface is a bit too big to be used for simply a 4-directional trackpad, I guess. Or not trackpad, but D-pad. Oh yeah, that's in. Yep, totally worth it now. I'm glad we played this game on the demo. So I mean, it works. It's going to take some getting used to, right? You've got all those buttons you've got to remap or relearn. But the Steam controller is definitely unique, and I think definitely usable with some more practice. All right, so there you have it. That's our first impressions of the new Steam hardware. Mostly focused on the Steam controller for right now. We'll have another video where we take a look at how the Steam Link kind of integrates with everything and how its latency or lack of latency really affects gaming. We have a lot more time to spend with this controller to see if it replaces anything else in our arsenal. But I'm excited for Valve. I'm excited to see a new option in the market, and I'm excited to see how developers kind of utilize it and what other games maybe take advantage of some of these unique features. We'll have more on this very soon, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.